Hello guys, good morning. So today we are going to be dealing with two specific topics. One is need for trademark protection and another is functions of trademark. So the first concept is dealing with need for trademark protection. So here we are going to be concerned with HLA Hart's concept of limited resources. HLA Hart believed in the concept of limited resources, which he stated that this concept of limited resources actually governs our actions. He said that we simply cannot have everything we want, and law is necessary to adjudicate competing claims. It is very necessary to institute the concept of property and provide for its protection. Thus, through law, one will be able to keep what he or she is legally entitled to possess. So, what he was trying to explain is that basically, when it is our property and we have competing claims to it, as in there are other people who want to exploit our property, who want to have a competing claim over our property, the property is always open to a lot of exploitation, and that makes it vulnerable, right? So as you know, what the more vulnerable a product is, the more the more is it open to exploitation, the more is it open to threats, exposed to threats. And when a product is more exposed to threat, there is a threat of competition, and when there is a threat of competition, it needs protection. So it is basically a specific step, right? It is basically a step or a connective issue, where when we see that because trademark is vulnerable, because the product is vulnerable to exploitation, that is the scene when we are asking for it to be protected. Like that is the point when we are asking for our product to be protected, because it is vulnerable to exploitation, when it is exposed to threat. And that is where the HLA Hart's concept of limited resources comes in, right? HLA Hart's concept of limited resources comes in, because here we are talking about the limited resources, where we are talking about how every property has competing claims to it, right? Every property has competing claims to it, but not everybody can have a right over it. And that is why, to establish somebody's right over a property, and make sure that nobody else is trying to exploit somebody else's property, right? There we try to establish the proprietary rights, and thereby to protect the proprietary rights, to protect the product from being exploited by the world at large, we try to give it more protection. That is why, as you know, as I stated in yesterday's class also, that well-known trademarks have a higher degree of protection available to it, right? Because well-known trademarks have that kind of quality to itself, that kind of popularity, and that is why it is highly vulnerable to exploitation, right? So the threat that well-known trademarks face is more than the threat that a normal trademark would face, which is in a very initial phase in the market. So when we talk about well-known trademarks, it is very well established, people know of it, and that is why the other proprietors, the defendants, would want to free ride over the goodwill of that particular property, right? Would want to free ride over the goodwill of that particular property, which is so well known in the market, and that is why it needs a higher degree of protection. So you can see, the more vulnerable to exploitation a product is, the more is it exposed to threat, right? And the more it is exposed to threat, it is in the threat of competition, and it needs protection. So this is the hierarchy which we establish over here. Kyunki it is vulnerable to exploitation, it is exposed to threats, and because there is a threat of competition, there is a need of protection to enable the property to be safe, to enable the fact that the property is not open to a lot of exploitation, right? Next, this is the concept of need of trademark protection. Next, we are going to go into the concept of function of trademarks. So in the very initial classes, I have already told you guys about the most important function of a trademark, that is of a source indicator, right? So this is kind of in continuance to it. So a trademark must offer a guarantee that all the goods or services bearing the same trademark have originated under the control of one undertaking which is responsible for its quality, right? Which is responsible for its quality. Quality identifying function, right? It is a quality identifying function. It is the origin identifying function. So this origin identifying function basically eradicates the likelihood of confusion. It helps the consumer in deciding what they want, right? So this trademark that is given to a product guarantees that all the goods and services that are coming out of one trademark source, that are coming out of one origin, have the same quality, right? It is the quality control function, right? It is also controlling the quality of that particular product. Because if the consumer believes that there are no counterfeit items in the world at large, if they certainly believe in the concept that there are no counterfeit items in the world at large, then they would know that जिस भी product में ये trademark है तो वो उसी factory से आता है. Like for that example, Patanjali products, right? So when you know that you are buying a product which has Patanjali trademark over it, so you know that that product is coming from that Patanjali company only. So it is not coming from any place else. So it is coming from Patanjali. So you know that it is somewhat herbal or organic for that matter. So you know that the kind of protection or the kind of quality that is attributed by that trademark Patanjali, right? So that trademark Patanjali offers a guarantee that all the goods and services bearing the Patanjali trademark have originated from that source itself, and that is why it controls the quality of those products. It makes sure that all the products that originate from Patanjali have the same quality. So it is called the origin identifying function, but it also eradicates the likelihood of confusion and thereby helps the consumer in deciding what they want, right? It helps the consumer in deciding what they want. So next we are going to be talking about economic functions. This is a legal function, right? That it is a source identifier, but in a way it is also trying to control the quality, right? It is also a quality control mechanism. It shows that all the products that originate from the same source, that have the same trademark, have the same quality, right? Have the same quality, and it is responsible for its quality, right? That is a kind of a legal function. But there are also certain economic functions of a trademark, and now we are going to go into those economic functions of a trademark, right? Okay, so there are two theories of economic functions that we are going to be dealing with today. First is the search cost theory, and second is the quality assurance theory. Alright, first is the search cost theory and second is the quality assurance theory. So first, when talking about the search cost theory, what we can see is that the search cost theory is first of all called the Landis-Posner theory, right? It is also called the Landis-Posner theory. As you can see here, Landis-Posner theory, which was developed by William Landis and Richard Posner, right? So it is also called the Landis-Posner theory. Now, what is this search cost theory, right? What is this search cost theory? So first of all, let me tell you that trademarks act as a search reduction tool. The trademark act as a search reduction tool, and it also mitigates the risk, right? It also mitigates the risk. Now, how does it act as a search reduction tool and how does it mitigate the risk is what we are going to be reading over here, right? So let's talk about the search cost theory. So when trademarks, if protected legally, decrease the costs and risks that emerge as a result of information asymmetry between the sellers and the buyer. So what is the first thing we state? We state that the trademarks decrease the cost and risks that arise due to information asymmetry between the buyer and the seller, right? The theory, the search cost theory, proposes that the use of a consistent mark, the use of a consistent mark on a product originating from the same source with the presupposed knowledge that the counterfeiting products is prohibited lowers the search cost consumer face, right? So this means that whenever a consumer has this presupposed knowledge that counterfeiting is prohibited and therefore there are no counterfeit products in the market, obviously his search cost is reduced. Why? Because he knows that all the products that originate in that market have that same quality according to the trademark, right? It shows that all the products originating from the same source are all consistent, right? All of them have consistency with regard to the marks, right? If they have the mark Patanjali, then they are originating from Patanjali and they are all having a consistent quality, and that is why it lowers the search cost, right, which the consumers face. Right, which the consumers face. Ki supposedly during this times of COVID-19, Giloy became very famous, right? Giloy became very famous and everybody was going and having a tablet of Giloy to, increase their immunity power. So everybody who was going to the market was searching for Giloy. So everybody knew that Patanjali is very good with regard to immunity boosters. So they would be searching for all the immunity booster products of Patanjali, right? And that was basically the sole motive behind also producing a immunity booster by Patanjali or by any other company for that matter, Dabur, right? Even Dabur has Giloy right now and Dabur is also selling Giloy because they want to free ride over the immunity booster that Giloy is, right? So here when we see that Giloy is produced by Patanjali, we are aware of the fact that it has that kind of quality attribute to it. It has that kind of consistent quality that the trademark is providing. And if we know that there are no counterfeit products in the market, then we are sure that this is a product we want. For example, a Gucci bag, right? Like we said yesterday. So if there are no counterfeit Gucci's in the market, then you would know if this product has the Gucci trademark over it, then it is coming from that company, then it has that kind of quality, right? So you know that product has that kind of quality, and you would not have to worry about what is the kind of leather that is used in it, what is the kind of packaging that has been done. So there is no worry. The brand power, the trademark has that power of ensuring the quality along with its goodwill being there, right? So it reduces the search cost of the consumer. So now, as we talked earlier about an information asymmetry, where here we had discussed that trademarks decrease the cost and the risks that arise due to information asymmetry between buyer and seller. So now we are going to be talking about what information asymmetry is. So information asymmetry is the situation where producers have much more perfect knowledge about their product than their consumers, राइट जहाँ पे प्रोड्यूसर्स के पास बहुत ज़्यादा नॉलेज होता है प्रोडक्ट्स के बारे में rather than the consumers के पास ज़्यादा नॉलेज नहीं होता, राइट? एंड दिस lack of sufficient incentive, and because of lack of sufficient incentive, the producers don't expose all the available information about the product to the consumers in the world at large, right? So information asymmetry basically क्या है? Information asymmetry का मतलब यही है कि जब sellers को, जब producers को buyers से ज़्यादा information पता हो about the product और वो information consumers तक नहीं पहुंचने दे, मतलब जब information जो है that is available more with the producers and then the buyers do not know that much of information about a particular product, there is a information asymmetry between both these parties, right? Because there is more information with the producer and there is less with the buyer. So that is the information asymmetry we are talking about, right? That is the information asymmetry we are talking about, with the producers having much more perfect knowledge about the product and the consumers knowing less. And then again, due to lack of sufficient incentive, the producers don't even convey the aspects of the property, the aspects of the product to the consumer, right? Especially like the negative aspects, right? कोई भी negative aspect होगा तो obviously producer जाके consumer को नहीं बोलेगा. This concept is also prevalent in the patents clause. I'll tell you how. So ये जो information asymmetry होता है, this causes market failure, क्योंकि जब कंज्यूमर को पता ही नहीं है, राइट, कंज्यूमर को पता ही नहीं है कि भाई वो क्या खरीद रहा है, इट इंक्रीजेस द रिस्क ऑफ एरर, राइट, एंड मेक्स इट डिफिकल्ट फॉर द कंज्यूमर टू वेरीफाई द क्वालिटी ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट्स. अगर कंज्यूमर को कोई भी नॉलेज नहीं होगा कि प्रोडक्ट की क्वालिटी क्या है, बिकॉज प्रोड्यूसर जो है वो उसको नॉलेज नहीं दे रहा है, इस सिचुएशन में ऑब्वियसली द कंज्यूमर वुड नॉट नो व्हाट टू बाय. So this would increase the risk of error for the consumer, right? So this information asymmetry is something that the search cost theory targets and says that this information asymmetry is brought down by the trademark, right? Information asymmetry is when consumers do not know as much about the product as the producer knows, right? So this information asymmetry is brought down by the trademarks, right? This information asymmetry is brought down by the trademarks, right? So this theory is also there with regard to patents. Like in patents, there is a mandation that you have to disclose the best mode of an invention. You have to disclose the best mode of an invention. In this scenario, obviously, till the point of time the patentee does not disclose the best mode of an invention, till that point of time, the world at large does not know what is the utility of the product. So if you do not know what is the utility of the product, why will you buy it, right? So that is why it is necessary to make the world at large know about the product, because when they know about the product, they will buy it. Otherwise, the information asymmetry will stay. And the trademark exactly does that. The patents exactly does that. They disclose information about the product, right? They disclose information about the product. They disclose the fact that all the qualities of the product are consistent, right? Trademark basically assures the consumer. Trademark assures the consumer that all the products have a consistent quality to it, right? This theory suggests that trademarks are tools for enhancing the information situation of the customers and are used as vehicles by virtue of which producers inform their customers about their products, right? So trademarks are tools, right? Trademarks are tools which enhance, right, which enhance the information situation of the customers, right? These are tools which enhance the information situation of customers. They inform the customers about the products, right? So that is the role of trademarks. फॉर एग्जाम्पल सर्टिफाइंग ट्रेडमार्क. सर्टिफाइंग ट्रेडमार्क मतलब क्या? जहाँ पे हम सर्टिफाई करते हैं कि दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट इज ISO certified, like ISO certified. So that shows that that product has that kind of quality to it, right? It is ISO certified. So that is a information enhancing tool, right? That is an information enhancing tool. It certifies the quality of the particular good, right? It enhances the quality of that particular good. It makes sure that the information of that enhancement reaches the public, reaches the consumers in the world at large. So here we are also going to be talking about the different टाइप्स ऑफ सर्च कॉस्ट इन्वॉल्व. तो यहाँ पे समझ में आया कि इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री होता है प्रोड्यूसर्स एंड बायर्स के बीच में, एंड दिस इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री इज बेसिकली मिटिगेटेड. दिस इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री इज डिक्रीज्ड by the trademark, and by virtue of decreasing the information asymmetry, they decrease the cost and the risks that arise out of searching for the particular product. Now we are going to be talking about the different kind of search costs involved, right? So search costs are basically of three types. Search costs are basically of three types, right? As I have mentioned over here, the first type is pecuniary cost, the second type is psychological cost, and the third type is communication cost, right? Pecuniary cost is the cost that is involved in transportation and experiencing a range of products, right? So when you do not know what is the product that is suitable to you, so you experience a range of products, right? You do not know which kind of shampoo you want, so you experience between Head and Shoulders, Dove, you experience in different Pantene, different sort of products that come in front of your eyes. So that experiencing of a range of products is kind of mitigated. So if you think that this is Dove company shampoo, you think Dove company suits your hair, so you use all kinds of Dove shampoo. You can use anti-dandruff shampoo, you could use the normal hair shampoo, you could use the oily hair routine, all of that, right? All of that will be coming from Dove. So that experiencing a wide variety of range of shampoos just to suit yourself would come down when you know about the trademark, right? So that transportation cost, that experiencing a range of product cost, that is mitigated, right? Next we are going to be talking about psychological costs, right? Psychological costs arise as a result of consulting, deciding and testing new products. Obviously when you are testing so many products, it also has a psychological effect on you. You do not know which is the product which is best for you. You are using anti-dandruff shampoo of Dove, and you are using it for Head and Shoulders as well. Now you see a Body Shop shampoo as well, which is also anti-dandruff. Now after using all the three, you are indecisive about what to use, so that is giving you a lot of psychological cost. So you ask people, right? You consult people as in what to use, which is one is better. So that consulting is also saved by virtue of trademark, right? You know Body Shop has a better name for itself. You know Head and Shoulders has a better name for itself with regard to dandruffs, right? So that is why you use a product which is well known for that quality, right? So that is why these psychological costs, these communication costs, these pecuniary costs are mitigated by virtue of trademarks, right? For example, I've given you the example of a bag, right? So for buying an expensive bag, you want to buy an expensive product, you want to have an expensive buy, a proper buy for you, and you are trying to buy a leather bag, right? So you do not know which one to buy, so you have to take out information. What is the leather quality that company uses, what is the kind of packaging that company does. So all of that information you need to gather if you did not have trademarks. अगर trademark नहीं होते और आपको कोई बैग खरीदना पड़ता, imagine going to Myntra and searching for a bag of your choice, right? So there when you land up at Myntra, you see there are no brand names given. So what is the basis of buying a particular bag? You have to go and search for the quality of the product. You have to go and search what is the leather component used, what is the packaging that has been done, what is the size component, everything you have to use. And even after doing all of that, if the trademark was not there, you could have gone for a wrong choice. You might have selected something which thinking that it might have that kind of quality, but what you receive might be different, right? So then the trademark acts as a quality indicator. If you buy a bag of a better quality, if you buy a bag of Bata, you know that this is not going to tear up anytime soon, right? It is not going to be destroyed or damaged anytime soon, because Bata gives you that kind of quality control, right? Bata gives you that kind of quality assurance. So that is a classic example of information asymmetry. If the Bata trademark was not there, there would be information asymmetry, and that is lessened by the fact of knowing the trademark. So trademark mitigates the information asymmetry, right? So this is a way by which it indicates the desirability of the product in the market, and therefore it acts as a search reduction tool and also mitigates the risk, right? And also mitigates the risk. Now, next up, we have the quality assurance theory. So this quality assurance theory is based on the premise that trademark represents an attractive alternative to information about quality of the products to which they are attached, right? About quality of the products to which they are attached. So here, by quality, we have two different concepts of quality. The first concept is objective quality. Objective quality is in term of excellence, right? Is in term of excellence, as in objective quality is the higher range of quality, that this product has that kind of quality, right? So it is a general notion that you have. However, perceived quality is quite different. Perceived quality depends on every individual, right? This quality is measured against the value relative to the price, as in if you have a price range of 1 to 200 for shampoo, then in that scenario Dove is a perceived quality for you, right? Whereas अगर आपका price range होगा 400 to 500, then Body Shop is a perceived quality for you, right? So quality depends upon the class of consumer, right? For an elite class of consumer, they might go for Body Shop. For them, their perceived quality would be for Body Shop, whereas for a consumer who is not belonging to an elite class, who is probably belonging to a lower strata, then he would go for a 100 to 200 rupees shampoo. So that would be Dove for him, right? So here you can see the perceived quality standards, right? Whereas objective quality would be what? It is the quality of excellence, as in कितना भी price ज़्यादा हो, किसका क्वालिटी सबसे ज्यादा है. बट परसीव्ड क्वालिटी में रेंज ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं कि इस रेंज ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स में आपको कौन सा अच्छा लगता है. 100 टू 200 में पैंटीन भी आएगा, हेड एंड शोल्डर्स भी आएगा, डव भी आएगा. सो इसमें आपका परसीव्ड क्वालिटी अकॉर्डिंग टू योर नीड्स, व्हाट इज सूटिंग यू वुड बी योर परफेक्ट प्रोडक्ट. सो इट इज द quality which is measured against the value relative to the price, or the consumers relative to, with regard to the consumer's preference, right? With regard to their price and consumer preference. So quality covers all sorts of characteristics to which consumers attach value, including aesthetics, perceived standards, and the emotional impacts that the products have. Now, what the trademark does is, the trademark facilitates the workings of modern market by allowing product owners to disseminate information about the quality of the product. So now trademark actually disseminates information about the quality of the product, right? So only a brand with a strong informative power is able to generate the needed trust in the quality of its product, right? So if the brand has that strong informative power, if it is able to give that kind of information to the public in the world at large, then they are able to generate the needed trust that people need in that quality of that product, right? So the mark increases the communication power of the product, which signifies a consistent quality. They just assure that all goods bearing the same mark are similar in nature, quality, and characteristics. So this basically shows that marks are have the commercial responsibility, right? That marks have the commercial responsibility towards the trademark owner, and so thereby the trademark becomes an indicator of what the consumer is about to purchase rather than who has produced it, right? So it becomes a specific indicator of what the consumer is about to purchase, right? It becomes an indicator of the quality of the product that the consumer is about to purchase. It becomes an indicator of what the consumer is about to purchase. It is assuring the consumer, right? And it is not only limited to being to having the function of identifying who is the producer. So that producer identifying function is kind of modified into a product identifying function, right? It becomes an indicator of what the consumer is about to purchase. So that is the quality assurance theory, guys. So that is the two concepts that I have dealt about in today's class that I wanted to deal with: quality assurance theory and search cost theory with regard to functions of trademark and the need for trademark protection. Thank you, guys. So whatever doubts you have, you can clear it either in the Saturday's class or you can ask me in the group itself, right? Thank you so much.